Good evening and welcome. Today is the 24th of May. It's Saturday night, this Memorial Day weekend, and I want to give hello and special thanks to our armed forces that have fought in so many wars in so many places to give us freedom here in the United States. I want to thank all the veterans, and God bless you all. Now, you have reached a live stream here, Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and I'm glad that you found me here. You probably were searching on Facebook and looking for answers about what to do with CPS. Now, what I call CPS may be different what you call them, but I call the Child Protection System. That's because it's a government entity that has so many different names around the country and around the world. It's sometimes called the Department of Children and Family Services. Then sometimes Department of Children or Services. Then it's Child Protection Services, or it's the Cabinet, or some other name here. There's probably thousands of names because every state has counties, and every county will have a government entity that is supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse. And that was said in 1962 when Congress passed a law that basically said that social services would protect our children. So they created a CPS entity, and it's headed up by social workers who are supposed to protect our children from two areas, neglect and abuse. Now, neglect and abuse is not a 50-50 thing. Right now, studies have shown that at least 75% of the cases are neglect, and the other 25% are abuse. And I'm here to help you all with this entity that you never knew about. I didn't know about it. And yes, I was caught up in CPS. They destroyed my family, destroyed my life. I mean, I can go on and on. They have took away one of my children, never got her back. They committed perjury, and there was revenge. She said it to us parents. You're never going to see your daughter again, and she kept her word. So I'm here because I hate to hear you guys go through your horrible, horrible headaches of having your family interrupted. You all are beautiful people. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care about your children. If you didn't care about your children. Now, I've been doing this live stream twice a day since October of 2023. That's 19 months. And every night and every morning I'm on. Now, I'm on 10 a.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. on the weekend. So this morning I was on at 8. Tomorrow morning I'll be on at 8. And then every night I'm on at 7 p.m. Now that is all Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast of California, where I broadcast on YouTube using the StreamYard application. This is one of my two rooms. The second room is Fight CPS with Bob Pace. And you looked me up and you were looking for Fighting CPS and you came across my name on Facebook and it gives you a link. You may have just did a Google search and find me all over YouTube. That's a long time. I have over 1,000 videos of me talking about CPS. I've talked to over 1,000 people being on here. I'm close to 1,800 people right now that I've talked to about the CPS case. And what has happened is that in 62, when they mandated that Congress tells social services to protect their children, they went out and mandated that all professional people that work with children have to report it if they see it. It's a law. But the sadness about it, over 75% of the time, over 50% of the time that they're wrong. They're wrong 50% of the time. And the lay people are wrong about 75% of the time, because the lay people are your family members, relatives, friends, acquaintances that use CPS to alienate the parents, to get back at a neighbor they don't like because maybe the way the yard grows or the dog's barking. So they make up stories about that neighbor. They misuse CPS. Of the 4.2 million cases a year of reported endangerment to our children, that's a lot of people. But the lay people are wrong half the time. Only about 2 people were ever investigated. 2 million, I mean, not 4.2. But they were wrong. Now, I'm here because I was caught up in CPS, and I want to help you all. I want to help you by answering your questions, your concerns, and how you can fight CPS. If I knew what I knew now, I would never have been involved in CPS. My children would never be gone. I would never have to go through all what I've gone through, lose my home, can't get a job. CPS has been really bad towards me, really bad. Now, one way to interact with this live stream is that you can text me a message. Text me a message, and it can be either a comment or a question about CPS. Try respectful to one another and help each other in this room. I will not tolerate any disruptions or anything in this room, because I hate to say it, I do have to get rid of people that aren't positive. I don't need other people hurting other people. It's bad enough to go through CPS yourself. But to text a message, make it a comment or a question that's about CPS, pertaining to CPS. Please state your first name, your city or your county, your state, and your country, because a lot of you are outside the United States. I don't need to know the country of people in the United States, but just people outside the United States. Put your country. If you have a province or a state, list that too. Now, I've heard from Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, and in the Middle East, I've heard from Libya and Saudi Arabia. Then over to Africa, I've heard from Liberia, Sudan, Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Mozambique, and then several provinces in South Africa. Then up to Europe, it's been England, Scotland, Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, it's been North America, with 4 provinces in Canada, all 50 states in the United States, including the District of Columbia. Then south of the border, I've had Mexico, and then in South America, north of Brazil, I've had Grenada. Then over the South Pacific, I've had New Zealand, and the land down under, Australia, and several states there. So whether you're in another country or in the United States, I'm here to help you. And people have called in too. That's how important it is to them. And I'm here to help you answer your questions, your concerns. Now, besides doing a comment in this room, you can also be a guest in my room. To be a guest, all you have to do is pick one of my 14 shows during the week. You just tell my show producer, Grace, who can be emailed at grace@vincentwdavis.com, I want to be in Bob's Sunday night show. I want to be Bob's Saturday morning show. Or I want to be on Bob's Wednesday night show. Or Bob's Tuesday morning show. You just pick one day of the week and pick either morning or evening. Now, there are times, sometimes I'm not there at 8 or 10 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night because I have family commitments come up and I'll be on later. I've never missed a date once. And I don't know if that's some record or what it is, but I've been here and I'm here 14 times a week talking about CPS. My rules, I've come up with 5 of them. 5 rules that make your life better, such as hiring an attorney, documenting your case, saying no to social workers and not letting them in your home. Use the internet wisely and research it, spend time on it. And lastly, make copies of important documents and keep them handy. Those are my 5 simple rules. They're really easy to follow. Now, besides when you're texting my show producer, Grace, she'll give you a link on StreamYard, which is the application I use on YouTube. And you'll be able to talk to me there. There's 9 spaces open with me, makes 10. I can have a max of 10 on the live stream. You go over what you can do and not do, such as no smoking or eating on the show, and we don't give the names of children or social workers or judges. Now, a lot of you are filtering in, which is great. I want to help you. You can help yourself by asking me questions, by calling in. And that's the next way, is that if you want to talk right away, and I recommend you calling in, all you do is dial my office number, 626-698-0990. And available during my show times to talk about your case and to help you. Now, during Monday through Friday, from 8 to 10 and from 11 to 1, I help people hire Mr. Davis. They call in and I help them match them up with the attorney. So I spent a lot of time during the week working for Mr. Davis. He has live streams himself, too. Now, I'll leave my number on there. And hopefully someone will call in. If you call in or be a guest on my live stream, you're eligible for a free 15-minute private Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis. All you have to do is let me know that you want well, when you talk or on my as a guest, I will ask you, do you want to speak to Mr. Davis? The answer is yes. I'll tell you how you can set up your private Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis. Now, Mr. Davis is the attorney I work for. His name's on the right-hand side of the screen, Vincent W. Davis. He's a trial attorney, been, fighting CPS for 39 years. His background is dependency law, family law, and juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Those go hand in hand, and that's what CPS is in. He also has a live stream himself, and he does that too. Now, the number of his office is 888-888-6582. There you can go ahead and retain him. His fees are simple. For LA County, he's as a retainer starting at $5,000. His hourly wage is $500 an hour. Now, when he goes to other state, he has to put in his per diem because he has to fly there or get a car for transportation or hotel accommodations and food. So it's a little bit more. I know recently I had a quote for Georgia, and it was $12,500 for Georgia. But whatever the fee is, it's worth every cent of it because you're in an agency that's very corrupt and your children were kept from you. That's terrible what you're going through right now. And a lot of you called in for help with that matter. And hello there, Carrie Sampson. I haven't seen you in a while. She has a question. Do you think a parent attorney will help me with my case, get my kids back? A parent attorney. I have no idea what a parent attorney is. The attorney you want to find has to pass the bar exam of that state or be entitled to practice law there. The attorney you want you should have a background in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. That's what's really, really important. Good to see you, Actress 51. You had tried to call me, and I told you to call back me tonight. So I'd be glad to talk to you. And I want to help you what I can there. Now, I think you're in New York, but you mentioned Florida and you mentioned Montreal, Canada. Hello, Colina Maybe. You're from San Bernardino County again. I remember you. So tell me how they can allow my nephew to come home for 10 days because they have nowhere to place him. And they come and take our home and place him in the office, leave him there for a day. He's a special needs, and that is wrong. What they did was wrong in San Bernardino. They're corrupt. And you need to tell people about that. You should call into Doge, the agency that's investigating social services right now. They need to know that. They need to know that. And for some of you that do not know what Doge is, it's the Department of Government Efficiency. That's what it is. And the numbers I have for that, let me look here. The numbers for the Department of Government Efficiency is 202-456-1111 or 202-456-1414. I know they're working numbers. They will take you to the White House. That's what area code 202 is. Also, there's a website called doge.gov. There you can find out what they're doing and everything. But hopefully they're investigating the arm of social service, including the CPS entity there. Because they are corrupt. They're $1 trillion business, and why they are is because of money. Money is what makes them go round. Money. And I'm really sad to say that. I really am. Okay, I think I have a question. You said you want to continue to help. You can call in. Yes, you're in New York. Can you answer my question? Well, what is your question? Your question was, can you call in? I said yes. And yes, you can call the phone. That's why I put my number up. My number is 626-698-0990. And it's you can call in right now and talk on the phone. Good evening and welcome to my live stream. This is Bob Pace. How can I help you?
Hi. So I
Could you keep the background noise down so I can hear you?
yeah, sure. Hold on. Let me try to step away.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Is it a little better now?
Oh, it's a much better. And what is your first name?
My name is Jasia.
Jasia.
Yes.
Okay, Jasia, glad to meet you. And again, you say you're from New York.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and you were trying to talk to me, I think yesterday evening we ran out of time. Is that correct?
Yes, earlier this morning.
Oh, early this morning too. Yes. Okay, I remember that too. All right. Well, now you have my full attention, including everybody in the room. And we're now at the, we have about 27 minutes left that you can talk.
Okay, perfect. So I had mentioned to you earlier that I went to Canada. I was staying temporarily there. I visited Montreal for Christmas, New Year's holiday. And just to save some money, I stayed at a shelter for a few days. And on the day that I was leaving, I was packed up, all my stuff, and the people that worked there had called CPS. They said to offer resources, and I didn't request any resources. And apparently, they said that they wanted to offer housing resources if I needed. And I said, well, I'll listen to you. They told me to call some other shelter. I did what they said. That place didn't have any room for us. I didn't need to go to another shelter. I just wanted to do whatever they asked me to do, which was call another place. Long story short, I called a different place that I knew, and they said, okay, well, you can come here. It's no problem. We don't know why they would ambush you like that, but yeah, you and your kids can come here if you need to. So I told them that. I showed them that if that was an option, that we had that for us. Now, I wasn't planning on going there, but that definitely was at least given to me. So they came, they did their task, which was to present a resource. And so as I'm leaving my room, they basically come in and say, we're taking your kids. It's not an option for you to go anywhere anymore. We're taking them. I said, why? She said, because you don't have housing. And I said, we do have housing for the apartment. She spoke with the person that works there in housing. She offered to email a copy of our lease. She confirmed that we had a lease. We had an apartment. We were there for years. And the lady said, you don't need to email a copy of the lease. I'll take your information. She just took the kids, my 3 kids, 2, 4, and 6.
Now, can you stop there for a second? Can you tell me who the entity that's taking your kids?
It's called DYP, Director of Youth Protection in Montreal, Quebec. They have a really bad reputation going after foreigners that are black and brown.
Okay. I did not know. That's the first I've heard of them. I'm looking up on the screen. Can you spell that name again to me?
DYP, Director of Youth Protection, DYP, in Montreal, Quebec. They have a horrid history. And when they do their case study, their annual reports, the numbers are staggering for how many black and brown children they take away from parents. And it's usually outsiders, people that don't speak French, people that are not Canadian, because they figure you don't know anyone. And I didn't. I had no family there, no one there. But either way, they took them, went to court, and they asked me to submit the birth certificate, the identification for myself and me and the kids. So they were fully aware. And when they had come to visit me in person, I gave them date of birth for all my children. And they had the actual documents. So the lady told me, bring that with you.
Now, may I stop there for a second? I want to interject something. When you came to Canada, and this is if you're traveling, because I'm a world traveler, anytime you travel, you do not want to stay in shelters. You can stay in youth hostels if you're a youth. But anytime you stay in a shelter, that raises a red flag in the government entity. Now, not all, I'm sorry, is the background noise are you at a place that you can speak or?
Yeah, sorry. It's just that people have just come over to where I was
Oh,
standing.
okay. I see what's happened is that you're not in a private area. Okay. But when you go to traveling, you never want to take advantage of free shelters because of what has happened to you. Now,
Well, at the end of the day, they didn't mention about the fact that we had no housing. That was nothing like that was said.
well,
When
you
we
just
actually
told
went to
me
court,
that you
what was
stayed at the shelter because it's free. Now, a shelter is certainly not a hotel or motel for tourists to stay at.
I understand, but that's not what they wrote in their court order.
Oh, and I know they're going to
for
come
what
up with
they had.
anything. They're going to come up with lies. I agree with that. But what you set yourself up is trying to live in trying to stay in a foreign land in one of their assistant. See, they're very different than we are in the United States. Now, I know that people from outside the United States, we kind of open the door up to them, and we'll put their kids in school. We'll give them free medical. We'll give them food stamps. We'll help them find a job. We'll give them clothing and transportation. We do all that, no matter if you're a citizen or not a citizen. And that has got to stop there because it's created us quite a problem in our country. So what I think what may have happened is they said, oh, maybe these people don't have money. Maybe they're gypsies, or maybe that they
They knew that I had savings. I showed them my savings account. I told them I have the funds to be able to.
But at first they didn't know that.
Yeah,
see, I'm talking about.
They assumed that I did.
I know they did.
I had a savings. I had that. It's just that I was not trying to deplete my savings. I'm a single mom, and I saw that almost everybody else that was there, besides one person, was an international. A brown person that was looking for assistance, just like me.
There are a lot of people that are racist, and I'm sorry that because the color of skin makes a difference to certain people.
Especially there. They had no civil rights movement, no Martin Luther King, no Rosa Parks, nothing that would make them even ashamed of the racism that they have.
Right. Well, the problem is that Canada does have races. They're French. That's why there are two languages in Canada. Do you know in the United States we have one official language? It's English. But in Canada, French and English are the official languages.
And remember, these are folks that wanted to emancipate themselves from the Canadian government. They wanted to be Montreal, Quebec wanted to be their own French country in and of itself in North America. That's why
they've always wanted that back in the back when Canada was aiding the British, when the colonies were fighting the British. So that's some of the politics, but I'd like to stick with the Child Protection Agency there. So that's where we really should be there, because I'm looking on the line and the new director is Leslie Hills there, who's a youth protector.
I wrote to her. They don't answer any of your emails. So they took the kids. They claimed the kids were not enrolled in schools. Okay, they falsified the ages of my children. They said my kids are 2, 4, and 6, and they said that the older children are not enrolled in school. First of all, we're not residents of Quebec. We're not citizens, and we were there just for. It's a tourist city, like anybody else. There'd be no reason to register these kids, and they're not old enough. They knew all of this,
okay,
but they still wrote that on their paper.
They're going to, because they got to build a case against you, because they want to deport you or get money from you or get money from the government, because that's what they want to do. You're set up because, first of all, you're at a shelter. A shelter is not recognized.
We're leaving, and we have a house somewhere else. We have an apartment somewhere else. We weren't residing. They put that as one of the things that she and the family resided in a shelter, but that's past tense. We were leaving that place, and it was just for a few days while we were in another city, and they had the information to know that we had housing in the U.S. and actually in Canada at the time. So this was just a temporary thing. Went to a point to have interaction with us. and to take them under this guise of housing. Now they're on their paperwork saying the kids are not enrolled in school, and they lied and knew because I gave the paperwork to the caseworker at the courthouse showing the ages of the children and me. Like she said, show my ID and bring birth certificates. So they knew. And when I went to that court hearing, I let it be known, not my lawyer, that my kid, my oldest was not 8, she's 6. The date of birth of her is not 2000 and whatever they had there. It was the year that, she was born. And they all looked back at me shocked, the judge and, the child's attorney, like, are you serious? This is not the right age. I say, yes. They still ignored it. They did not correct.
They are, because they're corrupt.
They are.
And you can't sit there and argue with them because you went ahead and used one of their shelters.
So they did that. They put them there and asked for more time to evaluate the situation. My kids ended up staying in foster care for 14 months. After 1 year, the judge ruled that she dismissed the education of neglect claims because the kids were not of age. A year, okay? They've known this the entire time. The whole first 6 months, I keep telling them, well, if my kid's supposed to be in school, let them go to school. I keep bringing it up in court. They're not in school. You took them from me claiming they're supposed to be in school. And a whole 6 months, they ignore it because they knew they weren't even old enough. So you took my children, had them in foster care based on a registration that could take about 10 or 15 minutes that you claimed, which was a lie in the end. And then you tell me right after you made this discovery that I need to go back to the U.S. So I had a hearing with immigration. You've been here in Canada too long, beyond the time that you're supposed to be here. You can't be here anymore. Well, you're not going to support me and then keep my kids. And I had let them know that at our hearing in October. So 3 months. We had a hearing in October. I told the judge, if you're going to tell me to leave, tell these kids to leave with me. They're all American. So you cannot hold these American kids here. And by the way, they were getting physically abused, sexually abused, vaccinated. My son got autism because of his vaccination. He stopped talking. He had to use diapers. He's falling out of chairs for no reason because his whole coordination, he won't eat a thing because they gave him vaccinations without my consent. I gave them paperwork. Do not vaccinate him.
Okay, first of all, did you have passports when you're in Canada?
We drove up with birth certificates and ID.
But no passport.
I drove up. No, I didn't need a passport. You don't need a passport to drive up. So
I know you don't need a lot of things. You don't need to have a driver's license. You could do things a lot illegally. But the problem being is you're with a very corrupt government agency that preys on people like yourself who who think maybe you're trying to save a buck here, a buck there. But the problem is you're at the mercy because you now are in their country. You see, once you cross the border, it isn't safe. It isn't like being from one state in the U.S. to another state in the U.S. Once you leave Mexico or Canada, and the reason why I know this is that too many of my friends and too many people have been busted and taken to the cleaners because the governments in other countries aren't like the U.S. Now, I'm not trying.
Especially that one in Quebec. Especially Quebec.
Yeah, I understand that. That's what it says right here. I'm reading about how all the abuses are taking place and everything. What you should have done is, if you had passports for your kids, you could say you're on a holiday, and that's why they're not in school. Secondly, you're visiting, but no one goes and visits at shelters unless they're trying.
We were at a shelter the whole time. We were not there. We were at a hotel. And we were staying there, and it was getting more expensive, okay? So I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can be here for a few days. At the end of the day, they have programs or whatever. If you need it, if you're in need or whatever, and I understand what you're saying, but that's not a reason to keep a kid. You're supposed to keep a kid if they're like starving, abused, or they're living under the bridge. They never were in that circumstance, never at all, not once. And at the end of the day, we were leaving. So you didn't find us actually living there. If you want to be technical, you found me leaving this place with another housing to go to. So there was no reason to even intervene in that situation. And since the kids have been there, they've been starving them. My daughter looked skin and bones. She had been sexually abused. They put my two daughters at a house with teenage boys, two 17-year-olds, a 24-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And my daughter, I hear them over the phone. I call there and I hear the boy tell my 4-year-old, suck my you-know-what. Okay? My daughter comes to the visits with cuts on her arms, self-harming, cutting her. She's 6 years old with cuts on her arm. Mm-hmm. And when she told me by video what the boy did to her, now, she showed up on the video with a swollen eye. Right. A swollen eye, and the caseworker is sitting right next to her, and she's sitting across from the foster mom. I said, what happened to your eye? The boy hit it. She said this happened last night.
Did you call the U.S. consulate? Did you call the U.S. consulate and tell them that your family being? And what did they do? What did they do? They
said, well, we can't get involved because it's a Canadian court, and they do whatever they're doing, and we don't get involved into their matters. And if they decide to release your kids, we'll help you get out of there, but we cannot interfere in their court proceedings. They did nothing to assist me. Now, we had that hearing in October, and I reached out and said, listen, we talked to the judge, and I said, these kids, if I'm going to be deported, they need to come with me. And she said, well, do you have all their ID? I said, I did. I showed their identification. We could drive back. And she said, well, we want the kids to fly back to the U.S. New York is 45 minutes from Montreal. You don't need to drive. You don't need to fly to get back to the U.S. But they said, well, we want the kids to fly back. So now we had to go through the embassy consulate in Montreal to get them to give me the passport. Do you think they cooperated with the French people working at that U.S. embassy? No, they didn't. Okay, I said, you need to talk to my lawyers and show them I have consent. I have my right to obtain the medical documents the travel documents of my kids. I went to the office.
Okay, are you a Native American Indian or the First Nation Indians in Canada?
Am I First Nation? No, I'm not First Nation.
Then are you a Native American Indian?
Yes, I have Native American ancestry.
Okay. Are you one of the 548 federal tribes as recognized?
In the U.S., yes, but I've not been registered with that organization as far as the U.S. goes. I was in here fighting my case. But I am, and they did let them know that. They ignored it. Long story short, the judge ruled what she ruled. I was not found guilty of education neglect, but she she claimed that I had physical neglect for housing instability because she said, even though I see you have an address, an apartment, we know that, however, when you get to the U.S., we don't know where you'll be living in the U.S. So because we don't know where you'll be living, I'm going to claim housing instability. And I said, well, she wrote this a year after. This is what she declared after 3 months of doing nothing. After she had her hearing in October, in December, she said, okay, well, I'm going to say housing instability neglect. I'm going to keep that. And I said, well, if all you needed to know is the address that we have in the U.S., you could ask for that. You don't have to claim that I'm guilty of physical neglect because of housing instability.
Right. You're dealing with a very corrupt Canadian government entity. Okay? And here's what I've read. The last 5 minutes you've been talking, I've been reading about it here. It says the youth protection system in Montreal, Quebec faces several significant issues. It is chronically underfunded, failing to provide safety and healthy environments for vulnerable children. There is a systematic overrepresentation of Indigenous children, with many caseworkers not meeting basic accountable standards. Parents have criticized the system for wrongly placing their children in foster care, leading to emotional distress. There is a lack of government action to improve the youth protection services, raising concerns about their effectiveness.
Well, they won't, and they they claim since day one. I said, the people in the U.S. said, well, what do they want to do? My family's thinking, well, what do they ask you to do to get the kids back? Just, I don't know what this message is.
Well, you could tell the consulate your kids have been kidnapped.
I told them they did not care. They would not help.
Okay.
They would. I said, you need to do welfare checks and see that my daughter, the cuts on their arms, the swollen eye, let them tell you how they're not being fed. My daughter's bones in her neck and her clavicles are sticking out.
Okay.
Her rib cage is poking out.
What you have to do, the problem is if you're going to fight Canada, I don't know how to fight in Canada except maybe go to the new prime minister.
It's okay because, listen, they brought the kids back to the U.S. They had a hearing. They did not include me. They had an aunt. I had an aunt that was listed along with other family members. And they chose this one very horrid one who was willing to throw me under the bus so that she could get custody of the kids, right? So she was going to be used as a witness against me, my own family.
How would they get custody of your kids if you're in Canada?
They were going to try to entrust as a resource. So instead of foster care, the kids can go to a family member. So I had listed multiple people.
What were you charged? Okay, first of all, what was the agency that was charging you, the CPS agency? What particular state was it in?
CYP, that was Montreal.
No, that is Canada. I'm talking the U.S. You said the U.S. was charging your kids with something.
Yes, in New York, that was ACS.
Why would the New York be so in tune to charge your kids if you never lived in New York?
I did live in New York, so we drove up from.
Is that where your home is? Is that where your home is?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Now, what is wrong with your home in New York?
Nothing is wrong. The thing about it is that when my relatives they put her with the kids with them in Florida, right? I was expecting.
I wasn't in Florida, so I can't say right or wrong. I don't know what you mean by right where they put in Florida. How does Florida have anything to do with Montreal, Canada, or New York?
Because my aunt, a relative that had taken them, so that they already ruled in Montreal I was not guilty, so they have to do.
Wait a minute, they gave your children. You are the legal.
Yes.
Are you the mother?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
why would they give your children to your aunt? What did they charge you with?
They had said it was a dismissal for the education, but they retained this whole physical neglect for housing. So apparently they kept me out of a hearing that was appear virtually. And in that hearing, I was there, my relative was there, and so they kept me out, they kicked me out and said, well, since there's a relative that can take these kids out the U.S., they had gotten some feedback. Eager to get them out because they were getting some heat for holding them there.
And what was the lawyer doing all of their time in Montreal? What was your lawyer doing?
Well, these lawyers don't fight against the youth protection. If you try to file something...
No. Are these... I don't know what kind of attorneys you got. Were these you hired? Or are these ones that were appointed by the court?
I did both. I hired one, Valerie Asseline. I hired two. They're supposed to fight. This lady never comes to court. She has 3 court hearings, doesn't come to these court hearings. The other one...
And how much money were you paying an hour for these attorneys?
$5,000 upfront. Would you?
Now, how did you pick these attorneys? Did you go and look for attorneys that have juvenile law, dependency law, family law background?
Yeah, they're on the news. This lady's on the news all the time talking about kids' rights and this and that, and she went and she didn't even show up for my hearing. I went on Facebook. Other moms experienced the same thing. Either way.
Well, did you get like 3 quotes? Did you get 3 quotes from 3 attorneys? Did you get 3 quotes from 3 attorneys?
No, the quotes weren't free. You had to pay for the consultations. They make you pay for it. It's all bread and butter for
them. Well, okay. First of all, that's a red flag. Anytime an attorney wants money for a consultation, you tell them, fine, there's enough attorneys out there. I can look up right now, Montreal, Canada. I can look up
not
well,
with free consultations. They don't. Listen, they know how their province works. It's been designed this way. Their laws are designed this way. They take these kids, and then these lawyers refuse to fight for you against the DYP. I once had an African lawyer who said he would try to get this case transferred out of here, out of Quebec, and he agreed to take it. And then once he called to speak with them, they said they're threatening his license. Remember, these caseworkers are government workers. So what they say, they get, and they make it happen. If you work with a community organization, they will threaten that nonprofit to say, well, we're not going to give you funding if you continue to work with this parent. It is very corrupt. And they circle around and make sure you are on your own. And then when you go into these hearings by yourself, you get basically gagged. Okay? So at the end of the day, they kept me out the hearing, decided to entrust my kids to a relative that they knew was contentious, that they knew that I said, I do not want this child to go. I mentioned that in court. It's in court paperwork. I have other relatives, but they chose this person because they are willing to do their bidding and throw me under the bus. They told the relative, keep this address confidential. You're going to get these kids. Didn't even tell me they had left Canada. I had to find out when I had my baby in New York. I got a call from CPS or ACS in New York that I needed to bring my child to an ACS office. They took my newborn at 11 days old. And they said, because we got a call from a relative that you don't have your 3 other kids. And that was that same relative that now called New York and made, not only did she say that, she made a lot of other false claims. And now my newborn at 11 days old, no investigation, no questions asked, no safety planning done, no court order was taken from me at 11 days old.
Why were you taking it? If you're pregnant, why were you doing a vacation in Canada?
I didn't do a vacation while I was pregnant. They've been in care for 14
months. What does you having a baby have to do? How many children were you talking about? I'm so lost on your case right now, ma'am. I'm really trying to help you. Huh?
3 kids.
Well, you said 3 kids, but then you're pregnant with another one.
Yes. Yeah, I got pregnant during that time when my kids were in foster care. I got pregnant and then I gave birth towards the end recently.
Where is the father for all 4 of these kids? Where's the father for all 4?
They're not involved. They're not involved.
Why would you have babies with a father that's not involved?
Either way, they're not involved, and I can't do anything about it.
Well, no, I understand that, but you did something because you had the baby made. I'm just trying to say, after your first baby, if the father wasn't going to stay there with you, why would you make more babies with these are different? Are these all different fathers?
At the end of the day, the reasons as to why I end up having another baby, if you're a mother and you lose, and then someone kidnaps and robs you of your motherhood, something that you decided to bear, something that you decided to carry and labor, and you decided to make an active life choice to be a mother, and somebody snatches that from you out of spite and out of hate and retaliation.
But is it fair to bring in an innocent child? But is it fair to bring in? Is it fair to bring in an innocent child to all this? Think what the child's going through.
An innocent child is not in harm's way. My baby was born full term and healthy with no marks, no bruises, or nothing. This was not warranted to me.
No, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Is that
at the end of the day, there was no reason for them to take an 11-day-old newborn when if you make an allegation, somebody calls in with some information.
If you have a case with CPS, they do take children. They tell you not to have any more children. It doesn't make it okay. All right. I have a similar situation with a mother in Africa who calls in all the time on her show, Leica. And the problem was she was not aware that when you have your children in custody with CPS, you're not supposed to have any other children. And if you do, CPS CPS will take your child. You're not, they,
Well,
the problem is that child is going to be born, and now he or she will be very confused with all the relationships of his brothers or sisters and about his mothers and different fathers. And your hands are full right now.
At the end of the day, this family should not have been touched by anybody.
But the law is corrupt out there. The law is corrupt out there. And unless you have a lot of money, how can you fight this?
At the end of the day, this agency is not supposed to operate in a predatory and adversarial
They do.
way.
They do. That is reality. They do. They do.
I can see that. I can see that.
I mean,
And at the end of the
it's
day,
all about money. They make money. Every time they have a child in custody, the government gives them thousands and thousands of dollars.
I see that. And
it's all about greed and money. They do not care about you as a mother. They don't care about your children. And your children are going to suffer because of this. What I'm saying is that I don't know if I would ever stay in a shelter if I'm in another country, because
I understand I didn't make the best choice to stay in a
right,
shelter.
okay. But why can't you regroup? Why could you not take your family members and leave Canada? What were they doing? Were they physically kidnapping your children?
Yeah, they wouldn't release them. They would not.
Then why did you not go to the embassy of the United States and say my children?
They would not help.
Okay, well, here's a number that is going to help you. All right, I'm going to give you the number here. It is 202-456-1111, and then 202-456-1414. That is the Department of Government Efficiency. Your problem is that New York is bad, Florida is bad, and Montreal is bad. You got 3 government entities that are very corrupt.
Yes.
And unless you get somebody that wants to help you, it's going to take thousands and millions of dollars to straighten this mess out. Because what you now are saying is you need to get a hold of the Prime Minister of Canada. You need to get his phone number. And you need to get a hold of President at the White House, Trump. You need to figure this out. Because right now, you're telling me things right now. And the thing is, unless you have a bunch of attorneys, like, a lot of people that are wealthy, they have tons of attorneys.
Well, the attorney that I have at the NBS is supposed to be fighting for me. They have a good reputation, but it seems like all
they didn't show up. If they don't show up, they take your money and run.
Yeah, that was in Canada. And now these folks here in New York,
they'll be the same way. They'll be the same way. New York is the most corrupt state with attorneys. Look what they did to Donald Trump in New York. And he had all the money in the world. And I have a lady named K.K. Richardson in New York, in Brooklyn. And now their family members are against her, and she's been charged with neglect. And now they want to do termination of parental rights. The court systems are corrupt. I know firsthand in LA, in Orange County, my judge was corrupt. My social worker lied on the stand. And because I didn't have $50,000, I couldn't sue her for perjury. I would have won that case, but I needed money. I'd spent over $300,000 to get my 2 boys back. I lost my home, my $2 million home, on a quick sell. I sold it for half of what it was worth. And right now, I'm in poverty right now, trying to help people not make the same mistakes I made of. And the first mistake is that I didn't get the right attorney. I didn't spend the time to shop around. I have a rule in life. Anytime I want to buy something, I have to get 3 quotes. And that's the same thing you do with attorneys. You find 3 reputable attorneys you think are good, but you ask them 2 important questions. 1, have you ever fought CPS and got your children back? And are you a dependency juvenile family lawyer? If the answer is yes, the next important question to ask them is that, have you ever filed a civil lawsuit in both federal or state court and won money back from fighting CPS? If the answer is yes to both those questions, that's one of your candidates. But you need two more so that you have three that you can get references on. You need to get 3 references and check out the references. It's a lengthy process. It's not something that's done overnight. And, red flags are if they want money or they talk about money, then you want to get away from them. Second of all, if the references say they don't show up or they don't are capable or something, you don't want them. That's what you have to do. You have to do your homework, and it's hard. It's hard. You're very emotional driven.
It's not the same. Even if you do, it's not the same system in Canada. They've been doing this.
Oh, I know that it's not the same system. I've heard of the mounted police. The mounted police will go there and take an indigenous mother. I have several indigenous people from Canada that have called on the show, and she's with the First Nation tribe, and she tells me how bad they are against it. I have the Maoris in New Zealand, and how bad the government is brutalizing the Maoris or the Aborigines in Australia. The Aborigines, the Maoris, the First Nation people. I mean, I'm well familiar with the Polynesian cultures and the Native American Indian. I am actually a quarter Lakota Sioux. That's the Plains Indian. And my Rosebud Reservation is where my great-great-grandmother used to live, a full-blooded Lakota Sioux. And so I'm well aware it took them over 100 years before ICWA was passed in the United States to stop taking Indian children and put them away in home. They've been doing things illegally for so long. Yeah. And this Department of Government Efficiency is making headways. People hate it because they cannot believe that the government has corrupt people, but they do. They have people over 150 years old still getting that Social Security check. They're dead for 50 years.
In my case, I just want right now my newborn is in foster care and ACS's care. They came to
It's going to stay there because because all is the law in the land, no matter if you're in the
point. Yeah. The judge is at this point. The judge says, "Listen, I just want to know, in my case, why were your kids taken in Canada? Why are they with you? Did you have your parental rights terminated? Like, I just want to understand, like, for them to take your newborn, and they're claiming because we took the newborn because he doesn't have this, so what happened in Canada? They called these Canadian CPS workers to
They're going to lie.
In court
They're going to lie. They're going to lie. Yeah.
Yeah, they lied. And then even my lawyers didn't even speak up to ask the questions the judge wanted.
Because they don't want to be hit. There's only one lawyer right now that I can count on one hand. They'll go after anybody for a lawsuit, and that is Vincent W. Davis. He has a history.
Yeah, and he's in California.
Well, yeah, he's in California, but he's gone to Pennsylvania. He's gone to Oklahoma. He's gone to a lot of places in the country and fought.
Yeah, but it's at least $10,000 to get his license.
Well, it's
to New York, and then whatever other fees. And
well, his retainer right now, his retainer in Georgia is $125,000. I know.
Exactly,
I know all that.
Exactly. So
that's what I'm saying. You got to be rich, and the only person I know rich is Elon Musk, who can throw away millions of dollars. He's given 2 awards of $1 million each. So
they say there's a lot of class action lawsuits against ACS, the agency that has my newborn, because now they want to do emergency surgery on her. They're asking for my consent to sign for emergency surgery.
Don't give consent. And what is the emergency? What is the emergency they want to do? They just want that $100,000 they're going to get from the government. That's why they want to do the surgery.
$100,000. Well, they said they wanted first.
No, they're going to get the money. They're going to get the money. Is what I'm trying to say. Is that the people? It's $1 trillion business. You know how much $1 trillion is? That's a lot of money. $1 trillion is. I was never talked about $1 trillion until recently, but $1 trillion is what CPS makes per year.
Exactly, it's a money game, and I told them that I want to see my daughter before you try to. I want to see her umbilical cord. You say she needs an emergency surgery, but you're not even giving me the medical records, letting me see my child so I can see in person what is going on with her, and they refuse to show me. And at this point, it's freaking me out because I don't even know if my child is alive or not.
They don't want to tell you things because they don't want to lose the $150,000 that they're going to get from the government for doing that surgery.
I told them I'm not going to consent to anything if I don't know the facts of her medical.
You don't have to. You still have the custodial rights. Now they're going to try to do what is called a TPR, termination of your parental rights, which is your education rights and your medical rights of your children. They're going to try to eliminate those.
Yeah, they're going to try to do that because I don't sign a consent form.
Right.
I already know that because they tried to do something similar in Canada.
Well, one thing I can tell you, something that's going to be good out of this phone conversation, you qualified for a free 15-minute private consultation with the #1 attorney, Vincent Davis. He will talk to you for free. No ifs or outs. And he's not a clock watcher. And all you do is you make your list of questions. And he will answer them.
And he will answer. Is there anything that you know I can do? Because I filed, I had to go to Florida to try to get these 3 kids from this relative. And the judge gave me actually permission to pick my kids up because the order that the relative had was not domesticated with any court in the U.S. or in Florida. So the judge said, okay, well, you can have them. Go get them. And then when I went to go get them, I called the police to have them come get me. The police came. They're very corrupt in Seminole County, Florida. This is a place where they killed Trayvon Martin and let George Zimmerman walk free. That's the county that I'm dealing with. They showed up, refused to put on their body cams, demanded my ID, had their tasers, grabbed their tasers. I'm like, I just called to see about picking up my kids. And I called before, and the officer said this is absolutely legit, that they would enforce my parental rights to pick up my child. And they were treating me like a criminal on the scene. And I just said, I don't want any police services. So even when you do try to go and legitimately, I filed paperwork in the court, but my relative made a false report and had me put in police custody.
Yeah.
Okay. Knocking on the door and claimed that she was the legal guardian. She has no paperwork for this whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay, now
I'm going to have to cut you short only because my show has to end at 8 o'clock. It's 8:15. That doesn't mean you can't call me in again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock my time or 7 o'clock. I know it's hard, but I'm telling you right now, I'm setting you up a time with Mr. Davis. All you have to do is text me your full name, your email, and your phone number. Those 3 things. You send them to me in about a week's time. My show producer, Grace, will put you in a private consultation by Zoom with Mr. Davis.
Yeah, I kind of spoke to him a little bit and asking for a consultation, and it's a little pricey. So 15 minutes. He heard a little bit, but
15 minutes to me, he's not a clock watcher, maybe 16 minutes. I mean, all you do is you make your list of questions and you prioritize them and ask your most important legal questions, but do it in a question answer. Don't get caught up in the emotional aspects of the government's unfair or the governments are corrupt or he knows all that. He knows that CPS is corrupt. He knows they'll take your children if you have more children. He knows all those things. What you need to do is take the emotions out and point blank them. What can I legally do to get my kids back? This is my situation. He doesn't want to hear all the peripheral. I'm just trying to help you is what I'm trying to say. Also, it doesn't stop to me because I'm on, twice a day, 7 days a week. So I know you can complete your story within that time. So don't feel bad that you're not able to finish because you said a lot. And I'm going to do some research and find out what's going on. Yeah. Also, maybe you will have some luck at that 202 area code numbers at the White House. And maybe you can tell them.
And what do I?
Well, what do you tell them? You tell them that you're in New York, don't mention first you're in Montreal, because they're going to sit there and say, we don't do anything in Montreal. You want to do that as a sidebar. You can sit there and say, right now, I'm trying to get the custody of my children right now back. I live in New York. Tell them you live in New York. Don't mention that you have an apartment where I used to be. I live in New York. I live in the United States. Unfortunately, while I was traveling, I was staying, and don't mention it was a shelter. Just say I was staying and got caught up with the CPS in Montreal, Canada. And they said my kids had to be in school. They took my kids away from me. And the consulate there in the United States, the Montreal consulate for Canada, would not talk to me. They would not help me. They want to hear that the consulate in Montreal for the United States would not listen to you or help you. That's a negative thing. That's a no-no.
Even in Washington, D.C.
Well, have you gone to Washington, D.C. and want to speak to the consul? Why would you go and speak to the U.S. consulate in Washington, D.C.? You're in the United States. I'm talking about when you're in a foreign country, you have
to call them to take the case, and then they assign it to whoever they like, wherever you are.
Well,
so I called the Washington, D.C. office, and they said someone from this area where you are will call back.
They never did they?
So they called back, but they were corrupt. They said they wanted to do a welfare check on my kids by Zoom. Who does a welfare check on these kids that have the swollen eye, cuts on their arms? I've got pictures and videos of what happened to my daughter. You going to do a welfare check?
Well, you have a tumble.
Are you in the same city?
Okay, ma'am, you have a ton of issues. The problem is they're all over the place. It's like you are a single soldier in a field over 1,000 opposing soldiers, and you're in the quicksand, and you're trying to fight everything at once. You can't. You have to organize it, and you have to chisel away. You have to think about things there. And sad part about it is you haven't found the right attorney, and I'm giving you a chance to speak to this attorney. And I mean, he's not going to charge you any money. But if you get emotional or you do all that, he doesn't have 2 hours to talk to you. He has 15 minutes. So do it a question answer. Make your questions very precise and number them, which ones are the highest. So when he says time's up, that at least you got through at least 10 questions. And then if you call my show again, guess what? You qualify for another 15 minutes with Vincent Davis. So people in here have talked to Mr. Davis several times by calling in here. The reason why we promote this is that we need to have people call because it gives interest to other people on the show. Now, since you've been on, I've had Cruel, who is Felicia from Ventura County, who lives in Oxnard, and she's been trying for months to get transcripts of her documents from CPS, and they keep giving her a runaround. And now they say that they're not going to do it. She says you must pay. She could get them pay if she's low income. She had her house taken by her brother. Her mom was kicked out. She doesn't know where her mom's at. And her 2 babies she's not seen for months. So, I am. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. And so then we have a new person here called Brown Recluse. And I don't know if it's a CPS matter or something. They're trying to promote things and say things negative. Brown Recluse, if you can call me back tomorrow. I don't know what state you're from or what your question is about CPS, but I'll gladly help you. All of you listen tonight. This has been an emotional, hard time for this mother who has 3 children. And then she just had another child. And now she has 4 children, and all 4 of the children are some problems and issues, and they're being hurt. And she's trying to get her family back together. And she's working with a legal system of Montreal, Canada, in New York, and also in Florida. I guess that's where the next of kin are at. Okay, I think I kind of understand it there. But I want to thank you all. I want to thank Carrie's system Samson, who talked at the beginning of the case, and she wants to get her kids back. So I want to thank you all for calling in, and God bless you. And I will be on again tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. There will be a brief video when I sign off that you'll see from Vincent Davis. God bless you and good night.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the
last ones left. Put your